This is INCRadio DCEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo.
Made in Australia.
G'day, mates. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Brother Morgan Goodfellow from the local congregation of Townsville in the ecclesiastical district of Queensland, coming to you live from the land down under the great southern land, Australia. Joining me today is our brother Hans Natividad from the recently established district of Western Australia. Brother, how are you?
Hello there, Brother Morgan, and hello also to our viewers. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon from whatever part of the world you are watching. I am doing well, Brother Morgan. How are you?
Good, thank you, brother. Hans, it's good to see you. We hope you're doing well, just as everybody who are joining us this day. We wish you a happy new year and all the best for your future during this year. So we'd also like to give a quick shout out to all of our supporters and please enjoy our thank you video. That's right. So thank you for always tuning into INC Radio Made in Australia. We would like to acknowledge the local congregation of Mackay. Also, we'd like to acknowledge the CFO Overseer for the District of Queensland, Brother Mark Caseo, for his constant support and for helping and allowing the local congregation of Mackay to surpass their position and take that number one spot. So thank you for all your support, for always sending through and supporting your local congregations. A special thanks also to the local congregations of Melbourne, Altona, Shepparton, and Ellenbrook. A growing number of viewers from Caboolture, Hobart, Perth. Thank you for your constant support and for your camaraderie. Let's continue our brotherly competition in supporting INC Radio Made in Australia.
Let's also not forget our top commenters from last week, and we have a long list to go through. We have our brethren, Emir Mercado, who is consistent at top 1 po. Congrats, po, brother. And we also have our sisters and brothers, Bernadette Go, Violet Mercado, Mabs Magno, Jojo Magno, and they're all from the local congregation of Altona. And coming all the way from Shepparton local, we've got Jack Galade, Angel Agar, Lance Bing, Roma Scott, William Manabat, and Jason Pugat. And we also have from all the way from Melbourne, we have several brethren, Melanie Beltran, Gabe Del Rosario, Ange, Laika, Rian, Angelo, Edward, Ella, Ka Sonny of Melbourne, Ka Marvin, and Ka Joseph Del Rosario.
That's right. We'd also like to thank Jojo Villapane, Ka Romy Kadalaba, Ka Reni Rose Raza, Ka Mark Caseo once again, Ka Richard Esperanza, hello po, Ka Seth Gutierrez, Ka Noli Esperanza, and Ka Romy Beltran. Congratulations to the newly established ecclesiastical district of Western Australia. So today we'll be discussing new beginnings, true blue new beginnings. So, Brother Hans, what does a new beginning mean to you?
You know what, Brother Morgan? I actually thought about this question the moment I woke up on the 1st of January, because new beginnings, literally every year that every year that started, really, it's always the kind of question that I would always have in my head, especially with all the goals that I want. But generally, if I think of a new beginning, it's more of a personal reflection of what I think is the start of a new adventure for me, whether or not, if it is something to do with a personal hobby that I want to pursue, or perhaps a long-term life goal that I want to go for, or even, and more importantly, something dedicated for the church. When I think of new beginnings, I always think of adventure. I always think of adrenaline and the thrill of getting really excited, and sometimes even feeling anxious because you don't know what's out there. There's literally uncharted waters across. So literally, when I think of new beginnings, it's always a new adventure for me. How about you, brother? How about you, Morgan? What do you think of it?
Yeah, absolutely, brother Hans. So, new beginning is definitely new territory, a new experience filled with all sorts of new emotions. Um, and coming into the new year, we're definitely going to experiencing a whole lot of that, as a lot of people will be having their New Year's resolutions, a lot of plans, a lot of prosperity, hopefully, and just broadening their horizons, I guess, brother. So, can you describe a time in your life, brother Hans, when you started something completely new?
Wow, now this takes me back. It's going to be almost a decade now when this has first happened. So, when I was younger, I used to be encouraged a lot by dad to take up piano lessons, or at least teach myself how to play the piano, especially since he himself at the time was an organist and also taught himself a lot of other different techniques also on top of his usual learnings in church. So he also knows how to play the piano in a bit. And when I was younger, he's encouraging me to learn the piano, but I didn't really pick that up until I was about 14. And that time, that I think was the start of me taking on to a brand new journey, because me learning how to play the piano, even if it's just first me teaching myself how to play compositions out there, it eventually led me into exploring what it's like to also play as an organist and also start fiddling out with the hymns. So I would say that time in my life around 2015, when I finally decided to listen to that and start taking up piano, I think that was the very first big leap of faith that had happened for me, because it also had a domino effect to me, where from learning how to just play piano music, I also started picking up hymns inside the church as something I would play. And then eventually it would lead me now to where I am today as an organist in our local congregation. How about you,
Oh,
Brother Morgan?
yeah,
What's your
no,
story?
congratulations, brother. That's a big duty in the church to lead the brethren in the playing of the organ and the hymn singing. So, truly blessed there, brother Hans. In learning piano, how long? So you said 2015. You truly picked it up. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, I did.
All right. And so, in coming this far, 2025 now, 10 years, can you tell us, like, you have any sort of special experience and exactly like you kind of realized when you started to become good, and what kind of got you to that spot?
Honestly, I didn't use my learnings for piano to also do other things outside, like gigs or competitions. But the moment I started realizing that I was starting to pick up a good amount of knowledge and experience was when I first had my experience in actually completing a classical piece. So it was around pandemic time when I actually first sat down and finally completed my first piano piece, which is an old piece from the 1800s. And the moment I finished it for the very first time, that's when I knew there were literally new horizons you could go for, and that's also made me more motivated to continue learning on the piano.
Very nice, brother. No, it's we hope all the best and you continue in it, especially with God guiding you as an organist. I myself, brother, I have sort of picked up an interest in poetry, I guess you could say, and learning exactly what it takes and what it means to write meaningful poetry. And it's not just, like words that rhyme and stuff like that. That's how it started off. I was captivated by the rhyme scheme of, and how words were put together and how it kind of sparked an interest in me personally. And that's what got me into it. And so I kind of delved in further into that in about maybe 2015, 2016 myself. And then upon trying to create poetry and lyricism that I like myself, helped me to kind of all the more develop a meaningful sort of progression, and just exactly what it took to kind of feel words and feel a meaning in songwriting, I guess you could say. And it's more than just putting words together. Those words have to have a meaning behind them, and those meanings come from the core of your, personally, it comes from the core of um, your circumstances in life and how you're able to portray those. And that took a long time for me to develop an understanding of just having something genuine, having something true come through in a personal poetry, instead of just trying to collaborate a whole bunch of words together that sound good when put together, but don't have a lot of meaning to it, compared to having a meaning to, words that probably don't even rhyme sometimes, but having that meaning behind it is um, all the more beneficial than having just rhyming words, sort of thing. So that was when I kind of picked up something new and delved into it. And even to this day, I still have a passion for poetry and songwriting. In saying that, brother, what inspired you to kind of take a leap forward to a fresh start? It might not just be your piano, but just in life generally. What sort of experience do you have in kind of taking a leap of faith?
Oh, that's a really good question. So when you just said that, literally a leap of faith, the first thing that I thought of was choosing between which university and where I would study right after I finished my high school. And that's also one of the biggest leaps of faith that I had to take, because at least it's not just for me, it's also for the sake of my family too, because we have so many things to consider around the time. We were quite we were actually quite in the crossroads between choosing which place to go to and where to study and what to do. And with all of these, because we decided that at one point we do the things ourselves and not seek help from outside groups with this, at least with my journey right now, with the journey that I took as a student myself studying here in Australia, I think throughout the whole process of the leap of faith, what now I think what really inspired me to go take this new fresh start is that there's always something new that's always worth looking forward to. And something that really inspired me is what my dad and my mom would always tell me, is that we'd always progress further. Just as the church is progressing, so must our personal lives be. So that's also one of the few lessons that I have really taken into heart when I'm thinking about a fresh new start. It's because obviously we in the church are continuing to progress with the help of God, and even in personal life decisions, it also translates to that. So using that advice I got from mom and dad really inspired me to take what you would say a proper leap of faith that I took in life. How about you,
Yeah.
brother Morgan?
Yeah, absolutely, brother. So a leap of faith in following your faith personally, especially in the Iglesia Ni Cristo, and trusting the advice of, the parents that our Lord God have entrusted unto us to raise us up in the church, especially. And seeing, your progress through their guidance and through their instruction, as well as following, the teachings of the church and of course our Lord God, is definitely a leap of faith. Personally, brother, being a convert, I joined the church. I was baptized into the Iglesia Ni Cristo October 25th, 2019. I did my studies about 6 to 9 months prior to that. And in taking those studies and an interest in the Iglesia Ni Cristo was a definite fresh start for me. Coming as a convert, I didn't really know who God was or church or religion prior to that. Didn't really take an interest in it until something kind of sparked my interest, especially when our beloved sister, who is my sponsor, Sister Elizabeth Bossi Moya. She's a beautiful sister from Papua New Guinea, who supported me my whole transition, um, who told me that, do you believe in God? And I said, yeah, I've taken an interest. She goes, you deserve to know the truth. And I sat back and I thought, yeah, I never thought of it like that. But, I do feel like I do deserve to know the truth, especially when it comes to religion. So I followed, um, I took her invitation, sorry, to visit an evangelical mission of the Iglesia Ni Cristo. And then I started to follow the Bible studies there from early 2019, and just everything that kind of transpired from there took me up to where I am now. And I'm truly grateful that I did take that leap of faith, so to say, and that fresh start of true religion to kind of get me to where I am now, brother. So in your personal leap of faith, I guess we could call it, in your new beginning, uh, who was your biggest support? I mean, you do have your parents, of course, but do you have anybody else who kind of stood out to you during your transition into where you are now and your personal leap of faith?
Oh yeah, I gotta be honest. So with the journey that I took right now, I really wouldn't have been able to do this without the support of my auntie, sisters, Rayo Natividad and Sister Mala Aganan, who I am very thankful to have with me on my journey. Literally from day one, from choosing where I would go later on, even now to this very moment. So it's literally just not just me choosing what journey I'm going to take on in life, but also all of the life lessons that I have come to learn by living away from parents and my sister. And that's one of the biggest. Yeah, they've got some of the biggest influence that I have right now, especially in my life here. And also, all the brethren from here in Western Australia, I've also learned a lot of really vital lessons from each of them too. So it's so much to unpack, but I would say it's all the brethren here, and most importantly, my aunties who have really helped me with my transition. I really couldn't have done any of them or any of what I have right now personally without their help, and
Yeah,
I'm forever thankful
absolutely,
for
brother. I feel you on a religious level, especially in Iglesia Ni Cristo. You have such a big family, not only just um, blood related, but you have so many brothers and sisters in the faith who are always there to support you on that journey, especially as we're brought up in the Church of Christ. Whenever we're going up, but when we have our downs, there are always brothers and sisters who have experienced very similar things, especially during our worship services. It's most important to us as members of the Church of Christ, because whenever we attend these worship services, personally, uh, the service or the lecture will always resonate with something that's happened to me, whether it be good or bad. And just knowing that it has that perfect timing, as you can say, God's timing is perfect. No matter what you do, if you're in that service, you'll always come out with a renewed hope and a fresh start to continue on um, with those Bible verses and the preachings of God's messengers. Um, and there's always someone to talk to about it inside the Church of Christ. So there's always that level of support there to help you during any transition in your life, whether it be a year long endeavor, a decade long endeavor, month long endeavor, or something that might just happen to you throughout the week. There's always a level of support inside the Church of Christ where no matter where you are or where you go in this world, you'll always have somebody there to help you out no matter what. And that's what the unity inside the Iglesia Ni Cristo is so just true blue, I guess you could say, brother. As we
Yep.
use in Australia here, true blue is to be just genuine as possible, And so, in saying with what we've gone through with our leaps of faith, what tips would you consider giving to others in who might be thinking of taking a new step, not only just in towards a step of a leap of faith, but just in general, like if they're considering new beginnings, how would you help them approach that new beginning, brother?
All right, that's a really insightful question, brother. I really thought about this for a really long time. If I were to personally share my experiences with other people and probably give the most solid advice I could possibly think of, I think one thing that really stands out to be really important and crucial is to really make it crystal clear as to what you want to achieve. So we all have big goals, and it's totally okay. We all have something big that we'd like to achieve in life, and that's totally fine. We can all have our dreams and aspirations. But one thing that I think a lot of us sometimes miss out on is how exactly we think of how we're going to get there. So I usually take the habit of spending some time and thinking about how I would like to approach these goals that I have. So let's say I want to learn a new language, for example, and be proficient in this language. I would outline for myself a specific timeline of what to do, and then divide each day or time period wherein I would have chunks and segments of very clear cut, specific, smart goals that I know would help me get into the goal that I want to get into forward, moving forward. So besides having the clear specific goals, at the end of the day, even though we go deep into these goals and then think about what we want to achieve, I think the most important advice is to entrust all of these to God, especially through prayer, because it really wouldn't it none of these would all be possible if God's not helping us, and because literally everything that we have comes from Him. So He's the first one we should ask for help, whether or not the pursuits we have in mind would be helpful for us, and show us exactly how we should do it according to what He wants, so that it would be all done according to God's will, and none of what we do would all just be attributed to our own efforts, because at the end of the day, everything that we have will always come from God. It's never always in our own volition alone.
Yeah, absolutely, brother Hans. This true blue faith you have there, bro, and trust everything to God. Definitely, and having that right and that privilege to be able to call upon God is our biggest blessing in this life. It's our biggest wealth in this life, especially if we're going to pursue something new and we've got no idea how to go about it or what to expect from it. You can always pray to our Lord God, who is almighty, all-knowing, and ever-present, to guide us through that transition, or to guide us through that new beginning, and to kind of help us exactly, to figure out an understanding of where we should begin, what to expect from our beginning, and to help us all the more to progress, and to always contribute our progress and um, our progress and our efforts and the results of our efforts to our Lord God, helping us to begin, um, especially in any new beginning, brother. That's pretty much perfect. Prayer is our weapon in this world. Um, Personally, if I could give any advice or any tips, it'd be just to remain consistent. Of course, on top of your prayer, you have to put the effort in, put the worth in of your prayer, to follow up on your prayer and to remain consistent. It might not be, you might feel some days where you don't want to go out and do the thing that you intended to do in the beginning, but you should just look at it as long as you're trying. It doesn't have to be the same effort as the day before. It could be more, it could be less, depending on how you feel. But as long as you continue on um, with the pursuit of what you wanted to do, at the end of the day, if you did do it, you'll feel good that you did do it. At the end of the day, if you didn't do it, you'll feel worse for not doing it. So if I had any advice, just to remain consistent. So we'd also like to shout out to Ellen Brook, our growing number of viewers, also from Caboolture, Hobart, and Perth. We thank you always for tuning in. Sorry. For our viewers, also please leave a comment below and share your thoughts as well to any new beginnings you might be thinking of, especially for your New Year's resolution. Personally, my New Year's resolution, brother Hans, will be to learn Tagalog. I know I've had a start on it before, but I really need to commit to it, especially being a member of the Church of Christ. It's kind of vital that you know Tagalog, so I really need to commit myself to that one, brother. Do you have any thoughts on your New Year's resolution personally?
Myself, I think it's focusing a lot more on getting more athletic and strengthening my body too. I'm starting to get into sports. I just want to to further strengthen myself, so I know I'd not only be strong enough to go on with my life's tasks, but also I would be able to keep myself strong for performing all of my duties.
Yeah, no, good, bro. Yeah, remember rest and recovery. All right, brother. So, shout out to Sister Liberty and Brother Grism, our beloved INC Radio officers here in INC Radio Made in Australia. Thank you always for the support and progress we're making with INC Radio Made in Australia. A special shout out to the local congregation of Townsville, my home local congregation, as well as Mackay, Gladstone, and Cairns, as well as Caboolture. A shout out to our supervising district minister, Brother Orlando Mackay, Brother Mark Casale, our CFO overseer for the District of Queensland, as well as our brother Orlando Mackay from the District of Queensland, and the resident evangelical worker of North Queensland, Brother Sean Burnell, who is consistently guiding the local congregations of Mackay, Gladstone, Cairns, and Townsville. Please stay tuned because you are watching Made in Australia, brought to you by INC Radio Australia Satellite Studio, one of the official satellite studios of INC Radio.
Finally, school's over.
Yo, Andre, let's play that new game.
I have a test coming up tomorrow. I should probably study, but I've been really excited to play that new game. What should I do?
We missed you on the game yesterday. How'd the test go though?
Really well, actually. Gotta make smart choices, you know?
And that's the value of making the right and smart choices while we're still young. It's also a matter of self-discipline. Wise decisions we make in our youth help us achieve a meaningful and purposeful life, bringing honor and glory to our Almighty God.
Made in Australia.
Yes, welcome back to Made in Australia, brought to you by INC Radio Satellite Studios. So, part two of our discussion, Brother Hans, we are recognizing and celebrating and acknowledging the recently established District of Western Australia here in Australia. How does it feel now to be recognized as a district, and also just to live in Western Australia itself, Brother Hans?
Well, Brother Morgan, I gotta be honest with you. So, literally, from waking up after the first, actually, so waking up on the 2nd of January and knowing that it's already the District of Western Australia, I think that really just brought a big smile to my face, because I know it's literally a brand new beginning, not just for me, but also for all of my fellow brethren living around WA. Because we know we're all going to start fresh and also have a lot new things going under for us, also with the help of our church administration. And just being able to witness this transition into having the brand new district, it's really just a big blessing from God that we're able to experience history for ourselves. And I also thought about this. So living here in Western Australia, from the moment I first flew here, I remember it was literally on the 5th of February 2022 when I first arrived here in Perth. Originally, I came far away and then had to go first to Melbourne before coming here to Perth. And it was midnight on the 5th of February when WA first opened its borders and also started allowing people to come in. And from morning onwards, while I was looking around, I was really surprised myself because Western Australia doesn't feel like anywhere else in the world. It's literally an area where you have the city. So you have the Central Business District, or the CBD as most people like to call it. But also, if you just move a few kilometers away, you would start seeing suburban areas that feel a lot like the countryside already. And that's also quite typical of where I am in Midland, because Midland itself doesn't feel like your typical suburb. It feels a lot, well, I wouldn't say it's so archaic, but it feels like I am in the countryside, but I know I'm not, if that kind of makes sense. So that's my general impression of Western Australia, whether it's here in Metro Perth, where you get a part of everything, in the sense that you have the city and the countryside just all in one. And even if you go far away to the countryside, you would see forests, deserts, and even mountains. And there's also a lot of coastal areas around WA that you could go to anytime within the flick of a finger. If I were to stay here permanently, I literally wouldn't have to go anywhere else in the world, because if I wanted to see a specific scenery, I know I'd be able to find it here in WA. So that's what it feels like. WA itself feels like its own little world where there's a place for everyone to go to, and you don't have to go far away, go to another state or even another country just to actually get an experience for it.
Sounds wonderful, brother. I actually used to live in Western Australia for a little bit. I used to live in a little town called Mandurah. Have you heard of it?
Oh yeah, I love that town, Andrew.
Yeah, so I had the honor of being there during they have competitions for skateboarding, wakeboarding, and freestyle motocross or FMX.
Wow.
And they just happened to have all three operating at once. They had a massive competition down there in Mandurah. They have a skate park right along the coast, big skate park, and they have like a big bit of land on the side of the skate park there, again, right against the coast. And what they had set up, brother, was competitions in the skate park itself, big concrete bowl, concrete steps, and just, the usual skate park setup. Where they had that open land space, they had a 14-foot wooden half pipe. So they had a competition going on in there with skaters in there, all sorts of news crews coming through, recording the event and taking hold of the event there. Even further out from that wooden half pipe, were big mounds of dirt that they had manually brought in to set up massive ramps for the freestyle motocross to do all sorts of tricks and whatnot. So they had all sorts of professionals come out there and do a display, also to win a bit of money in the competition. So they had all these sports going on, and along the coast there they had a big wakeboard competition set up as well. So during my time there in Mandurah, even though it was brief, I think it was only 3 or 4 months, I happened to just come in at the right time, and I was able to witness that. So that's my impression of Mandurah, and it's always left a big impression in my life of WA and just what it's had to offer. I wish I could always go back. So maybe next time I come through WA, you have to take us through a bit of a tour through Midland and back down towards Mandurah, brother.
Yeah, feel free. Feel free. It's gonna be quite a ride, especially if you're taking public transport. It's like from one end to another, like the whole train lines. They're literally on opposite ends. So it's gonna be quite a fun ride if you're gonna come back here about the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds quite convenient, brother. So also just an unforgettable experience yourself being in Western Australia, that kind of defines where you are in life right now. I heard the borders had just opened up in WA from where you may have been coming from. What's your story behind that one, brother Hans?
All right. So that time it was right around the height of COVID, and WA, compared to most other states, had some of the toughest laws regarding all of the COVID control policies, and they have done a really good job at maintaining peace and order here. Although I wasn't personally here to witness it because I was coming from overseas myself. But yeah, around that time, that unforgettable experience was that I found out from the moment that I flew into Perth Airport, and then people I think from customs, or I think that either they were from customs or the police force, if I'm not mistaken. They were telling us that literally we were the very first flight to come over from another place, which is in our case Melbourne, and that's flying all the way from Melbourne going to Perth. So that's literally the first flight and the first about 150 people to come in from another place to enter WA. So that unforgettable experience of me traveling over to Western Australia and finding out how important of a milestone it is, I think it's left a really significant mark, especially since I have a full I usually like recording down what I do, and I have a full record of exactly what had happened right after that, because straight from there I had to get into the quarantine protocols that they had in place before in WA, because they still had quarantine protocols wherein if you come to WA, you have to isolate yourself for a while just so you can't get COVID or you can't spread COVID around the community. And that whole experience of having all of these changes happen between that time, the 5th of February, to, if I'm not mistaken, it was either 23rd or the 24th, when WA started becoming much more relaxed with these rules. There's literally so many changes going on all at once that even I nor my family didn't know what's going to happen next. So we just entrusted everything to God at that stage, because everything was changing at every second, that we didn't know what's going to happen next and whether or not we'd be able to continue further. So I think that's also one of the most important things that have really shaped my faith, because from then, either way, from then on, when I thought I would have to stay a whole fortnight in our quarantine hotel, it ended up becoming just a week, especially with all of these changes happening. And thankfully, I was able to unite with my aunties and start my life here within a shorter amount of time than what we initially anticipated. And I would also attribute all of that to God too, because I placed in Him the full trust that whatever happens will happen because of His will. And that's why I would never forget my actual coming over from overseas going to Perth, because it literally was a whole whirlwind of experiences from then on.
Yeah, it sounds like it, brother. It sounds like the grace of God guided you all the way through up until now, definitely. In saying that, brother, you're also studying, is that right? What are you studying there in WA?
Oh yeah, I used to. I was studying here, but I'm recently finished my degree in Bachelor of Biomedical Sciences, and I did it over in one of our universities here in a suburb called Bentley, WA, and I I'm about to have my graduation rites next month, so that's the only time I've been waiting for, and thank God I've been able to finish it with really good marks, and especially with results that I initially was not expecting, because it's not an easy course.
No, it sounds like a bit of a journey, bro, and sounds like a perfect start to the new year by graduating.
hmm And yeah, I can't wait for it. And hopefully there'll be a lot of people coming over. We'll see what's gonna happen next.
Oh, you've got a lot of family coming to visit for your graduation, or?
Oh yeah, we're working on it, and I can't say much details just yet. But yeah, that's something we're getting to work towards.
All right. No, of course, it's a big moment in your life. So all the best, brother. And again, congratulations. For any
Yeah.
of our brethren watching, or any of our fellow men who are watching who might be interested in moving to WA, brother Hans, can you offer any advice or any insight to just exactly what WA might have to offer for newcomers, especially seeking work or studying?
Oh yeah, so living in WA, there's a good opportunity for a lot of work, especially with skilled work. WA's been really voracious with getting people from whether it's here interstate or even overseas to have a lot of skilled work, especially within the trades. So if you're also a family man, for example, looking for work that also involves a lot of handicraft, or even or having a lot of hands-on work, let's say jobs like mechanics or carpentry, or or anything to do with machines. Just as a good example, it's a good opportunity to come here to WA and start contributing skills, because it's also an easy pathway not only to get stable work, but also to move forward to even brighter prospects. I've also personally heard stories from many brethren who have come here and started working, and also this has also helped them later on not only bring their family, but also work towards getting their permanent residency and even becoming Australians themselves.
Yeah.
And while we're on it, speaking of work, to everyone watching on TV, please watch out for season 2 of Made in Australia, because we are going to start featuring different professions here from our brethren here in Australia. And in our very first episode, we will feature us Parky and a lot more other professions coming over within this new season.
Yes, absolutely, brother Hans, and for all of our fellow men and our brethren watching there, be on the lookout for our upcoming seasons. So also, brother, being a part of your newly established district, do you guys have any plans for your upcoming activities to all the more kind of bring each local congregation together?
Well, yeah, Brother Morgan, there's I'm sure there's going to be a lot of activities coming up. Now, I haven't had the chance to look forward to have a look at what all of these are so far, but there are some that we'd be able to look forward to, including a dessert making activity in the local congregation of Ellenbrook on the 11th of January, and on the 26th of January for both local congregations of Coogee and Midland. They will be having their outdoor socializing activities. And also, speaking of looking to activities, let's also try looking back at another activity that's just very recent, if that's okay. So I remember just recently, it's literally just around November when all of this happened. It's International Unity Games, and that's fresh out of everyone's memory who was able to personally witness here. Because within those few days that brethren from all over the world have come here to play soccer, it has brought not only a strong amount of camaraderie and also contribution to a big effort from the church administration, but also a great spiritual strengthening for the brethren because of the special worship service that we were fortunate to have had conducted here in Perth, in the Perth Convention and Exhibition Center. And it was blessings all the way through, from the lead up and the preparations, from all of the brethren and officers, all the way down to the actual 3-day event. It's literally just a whole season filled with blessings and unforgettable experiences.
Yeah, definitely, brother. The International Unity Games bringing us all together. It's exactly what the Church of Christ is about, that unity. And now being an established district of Western Australia, you guys can look forward to your personal district unity games, just as we are here in the District of Queensland and Australia East. In saying that too, brother, just as part of your new year, did your local congregation of Midland or even your surrounding congregations happen to have a New Year's celebration by any chance?
Oh yeah, yes, yeah, definitely, Brother Morgan. There were a lot of year-end celebrations, and the other local congregations had theirs on different dates. I could speak for Midland because we had it on the 31st, so it was at least hours before New Year's Eve that we had a proper program. We also had CWS performers and a lot of games. I think the big highlight there was all of the games that our brethren had prepared, because we spent at least 2 hours.
Oh, really? What sort of games did you take part in?
Ooh, there were a whole lot of games, such as us jumping into balloons. I don't know the names on top of my head because all of the brethren were coming up with that. Plus, I also emceed along with 2 other sisters on the day, so I was mostly in charge with emceeing the event.
Yeah. All right. So we'd also like to give a quick shout out to the Ecclesiastical District of Victoria in Australia, and all of our districts throughout Australia, Queensland, Australia East, Western Australia, and of course Victoria. For our New Year's celebration, Brother Hans, we didn't so much as have a New Year's celebration, but we did have our end of year socializing, which also correlated with one of our beloved sisters' birthdays here in the local congregation of Townsville, Sister Loti Pasquale, who celebrated her golden birthday, or her 50th birthday celebration. So a big shout out to you and a happy belated birthday to you, Sister Loti Pasquale and the Pasquale family, who put together a very beautiful and memorable birthday celebration and socializing for the local congregation to enjoy. We were filled with games and just memories and greetings from her family, special live performances from our sister Alyssa Ventura, who's a very talented singer here in the local congregation of Townsville, as well as many other brethren who just contributed to the celebration. So that was a very, very beautiful way to end the year and to celebrate the new year. Brother Hans, is there anybody you'd like to shout out?
Now we're at it, Brother Morgan, and speaking of year-end socializing and celebrations, right before we finished our year-end socializing, we actually greeted one of our pioneering sisters, Sister Lily Haynes, on her birthday. She didn't want to say her age yesterday, but yeah, she celebrated her birthday exactly yesterday on the same time. We're also doing a year-end socializing, and we'd also like to shout her out specifically, especially since she also told a really interesting backstory of how she also saw how the church grew here in Western Australia. And I think we could also reserve that for a future episode. Who knows? It's content that's literally worth looking back later on. So that's the first. And then I'd also like to shout out all of the local congregations across Metro Perth, from here in my very own local congregation of Midland, all the way to other locales such as Perth, Fremantle, Stirling, Queen's Park, Rockingham, Coogee, Armidale, Maddington, and also a special mention to the local congregation of Ellenbrook, who's celebrating their 4th year anniversary as a local congregation this coming 11th of January. And also all of our other local congregations and group worship services across the whole state of Western Australia, and also the Northern Territory, because the Northern Territory is also part of our district. And from my local congregation, there's also 2 brethren I would like to greet because they're going to have their birthdays soon. First is one of my really good mates in the choir and also our choir leader, Kuya Angelo Guanzon. He's celebrating his birthday on the 12th of January. And also one of our choir members and fellow trainee organist, Sister Phil Remoto. She's celebrating her birthday on the 9th. And I also have one of my cousins, Lana Natividad, who's living in Utah. She celebrated her birthday on the 2nd of January. So also shout out to you, Lana. I miss you. Many hearts from your kuya. And also, I believe we've also got some other special, other special mentions for. And we've also have a happy birthday from Brother Ishi from Melbourne, and belated happy birthday to Sister Lilette Haraza.
Happy birthday, brethren. And again, a special greeting to the Ecclesiastical District of Victoria, Australia. We are all missing each other, and we're looking forward to the next Unity Games. So stay tuned, because you are watching Made in Australia, brought to you by INC Radio Australia Satellite Studio, one of the official satellite studios of INC Radio.
Made in Australia.
So our Aussie slang for this week will be a live performance, Brother Hans. Welcome back to Made in Australia, firstly, brought to you by INC Radio Australia Satellite Studio. So our Aussie slang for this week, Brother Hans, will be off to a flyer. Have you heard that one before?
Oh, no, that's the first time I've heard of it, Brother Morgan. What is it?
Yeah, right. So it's similar to, it's again shortened to off to a flying start, or off to a flyer, which means starting the new year or something fresh on a good note. So, for example, you could say 2025 is off to a flyer already. We have a newly established district in Western Australia.
Same goes for the newly established district of Victoria, Australia.
That's right. So we're off to a flying start, especially Brother Hans, who is celebrating his graduation early. Is it next month or the end of this month?
Oh, yeah, it's next month.
Next month. All right. And to all of our brethren, if you guys in the live comments section, if you guys have any celebrations or anything coming up that's kind of setting your new year to a flying start or to a flyer, please mention it in the comments section there, so we can see exactly where you guys have come from, and maybe we'll be able to sponsor or support your progress on one of our live episodes in our near future. Also like to give a shout out again to our local congregation of Townsville, with all of our supporters recently coming through. Brother Randall Armamento, who's all the more leading the brethren from our local congregation to support INC Radio, trying to get our local congregation up there in the top 3. Also a special note to our beloved brother Joe Pasquale and Brother Loretta Solomon, who will be celebrating their birthdays at the end of January. I believe it's January 22nd and January 26th, if I'm not mistaken. There's also, brother, just a quick mention. It's something unique, and I just recently found out about it online. There's going to be a I guess you could say a once in a lifetime event happening where I'm not too sure if you've heard of this, but it's very interesting. All the planets are going to align in one straight line I believe it's January 26th. So if you guys are into or anything like that, or you just want to check out the event, be sure to check that one out because it is a very unique and a very rare opportunity to see Brother Hans. Have you heard about that one?
Wait, so sorry, Brother Morgan, can you repeat it? So it's literally all the well, is it all the planets of the solar system and the sun aligning together in one day?
Yeah, yeah, it's very, very unique, brother. I heard about it on January 26th. So be sure to keep your eyes out for that one.
I love that. I think I've been seeing posts on that on social media, but I didn't think it would be actually a thing. But that would be cool to see. If I
Yeah,
had a
absolutely. Yeah,
telescope, I would get it straight away.
yeah. So also just very, very unique opportunity in that one. Um, I guess you could say, yeah, again, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. In saying that, brother, is there any Aussie slang that you've come across recently that you'd like to input in the end of our discussion this evening?
Any brand new ones? Thing is, I think it's quite varied. It really depends on who I'm talking to. So I do get to hear Aussie slang every now and then, but I think the last and yeah, at least I'm thinking of recent memory now. Yeah, now you made me think about this. It's not something I would usually think of.
Now, you
But
haven't
yeah,
heard any like of your fellow men in your area approach you or anything like that, or any brethren just caught you off guard maybe by using their Aussie slang?
I think it's more when I'm trying to go around shopping centers and just looking for hot dogs, and then people will just go, "Are you looking for a snag or something?"
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, common Aussie slang for a sausage is a
Mhm.
snag. To chuck on the barbie or a barbecue. Definitely a perfect time to be having snags on a barbie, especially during this time of the year. It's very hot, so you'll find a lot of us cooking up a sausage sizzle or a snag on a barbie down near the beach.
Mhm.
Definitely around early brekkie time or for breakfast. Just having a good swim around there in the beach around Midland, brother. How far is the beach from you guys?
Wow. Well, I gotta say it's at least 30 minutes because we're quite inland from Perth, and I think the nearest beach, if I were to drive it, it would be around half an hour. So we've got some coastlines at least ready around the metro area, and then we could even go further to Fremantle, which would take almost an hour.
Right, you don't have any like lakes or anything around there, and you have like mountains or anything.
Yeah, so I think the closest we could go for are some areas around the Swan River. So there's a few suburbs where you actually get access to the northern area of the Swan, and there's also some people who would go fishing and go row their boats around.
Yeah, no, it sounds like fun, brother. You definitely have to take us up there. I'm very keen on coming back to WA just to take a look around that area, visiting our brethren and all local congregations. In saying that, brother, it is the end of our discussion. So we do hope everybody who's tuned in today did take some value from the progression that we've made as a district all throughout Australia, the progression we've made as INC Radio, and the rebranding of Made in Australia. Brother Hans, is there any final greetings you'd like to mention or any shout outs you want to give to our beloved viewers?
Yeah, so in saying that, I'd also like to thank everyone who's also watching us, and we really appreciate you being with us and also just witnessing the growth of INC Radio here in Australia. And this goes across our viewers from all over the world, and also a special shout out to both mom and dad, and also my younger sister Rory. They're my biggest supporters in all that I do, whether it's watching what we've got here, and also all of my other tasks and duties, both in and out of church.
Yeah, absolutely, Brother Hans. And a big shout out to you, Brother Hans, for all your support in supporting INC Radio hosting and all your contributions recently. It's a big help. And to the Natividad family, we thank you for all your support for our beloved Brother Hans. We would also like to thank our CFO coordinator, Brother Angela Irania V. Manalo, and our beloved executive minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. I see you all next week. To all our viewers, thank you for always tuning in. See you.
Yeah, see ya.
Australia.